Hey, Anthony, how are you?
Hello, Michael Vincent.
Shall we do a shipper update?
Let's do a shipper update.
Awesome. Welcome. I've got Anthony Smith, our lead economist here, Mr. Knowledgeable in the shipping world. So let's get to it, man. What's going on?
Michael Vincent, as you know, it's Thursday, so that means one thing.
It's Thursday. Wait a minute.
Initial jobless claims get updated every single Thursday. So this is one of the areas that we've been looking at because those consumer conditions, I always say it, employed consumer is a confident consumer is a spending consumer, and that's going to move from upstream at those shippers, those manufacturers downstream to those consumers being a lot more confident in making those purchases.
It all comes down to somebody buying something, right?
That's what it all comes down to.
It all comes down
to.
Even
down
B2B,
to
right?
That's
Somebody's got
exactly
to buy something, right?
That's exactly right. And we even got durable goods and non-defense capital goods new orders, which we can chat about a little bit later. But looking at initial jobless claims, what we saw in the latest number was that it reached a new pandemic low. So now down to 406 initial claims for the week. Still a bit higher, a good deal higher than our pre-pandemic levels of 200 to 300,000.
200 to 300,000.
But it's moving in the right direction.
It is, but wait, what's this, 900,000?
Right. Right. I mean, it was up there not too long ago. And that's the thing, it's been consistently dropping. And I mean, throughout much of the year, we were looking at it and it was just hovering around 600,000 to 700,000 claims for so long throughout the year. And now we're seeing this consistent drop. And this is positive news. I know I've been skeptical, still a little bit skeptical.
Well, you can see the skepticism.
Popping up left and right.
Comes down, Anthony skeptical.
Right. I mean, the skepticism kind of also comes from the amount of claims that came in because states weren't ready for this and processing those. And so we might not get those full story of those that are actually on or off, or those fraudulent attempts that happen in
it's not a very exact science, right? It's more of an art figuring out where unemployment and jobless level.
Exactly, and I mean, the pandemic really exacerbated a lot of trends, and one of the areas that we really weren't prepped for is how do we account for all these individuals? And so that's where we saw conflicting evidence, where we see, misfilings of people that maybe were unemployed, but were actually not seasonally employed. So it's just a lot of misclassifications, frauds, things like that. But we're looking at the overall trend, not getting too caught up in the details or the numbers. And the overall trend is that we're seeing this downward movement. The other thing that we're also seeing is that continuing claims are looking like they're coming down. And so
finally, it's starting to come down finally, because that's part of the issue, right? I mean, when you walk down the street, you see hiring, right? And you see Buc-ee's putting out signs that, $22 an hour and free, 3 weeks vacation, that kind of stuff. McDonald's giving away iPhones.
Yeah. And like I said at the beginning of the show, of the segment about shippers, it all comes down to what it means for that consumer. Are there going to be those shippers, those manufacturers, need to have those employees working whether it's within the manufacturing level upstream or downstream. And so
they need them working to buy their stuff or to produce their stuff.
Exactly right. And so that production part is a really big piece, because the more stuff we can produce, the more stuff we can actually consume. Because right now we're seeing this ramp up in consumption that's putting upward pressure on prices, increasing scarcity. And upstream, we're also seeing those shippers really being impacted at the manufacturing or the product creation level by the shortage in commodities across the board, whether it be lumber, steel, especially semiconductors.
Yeah, and as we were talking about just yesterday, the lumber is affecting pallets.
Yeah.
That shippers use to ship goods on. That's
Exactly.
Freight 101. I'll have a class later.
Freight 101. Sounds like a new show, Michael Vincent.
Thanks for volunteering.
I love it. So that's exactly what it's all kind of coming down to. And of course, we love to use sonar because we were able to even see some of those calls ahead of time, especially looking at our flatbed outbound tender rejection index a few weeks back and what it would mean to new housing starts or non-defense capital goods spending. And so it's important to kind of use that leeway of seeing what's happening and what's moving on the roads right now or as of yesterday while we wait on these month-to-month indices coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. And the costs just keep getting higher from so many different things, because as we were just talking to Chris Richards, there's another cost. And it's a huge cost on the American economy because we import way more than we export, correct?
Exactly right.
And you're talking about $10,000 for a 40 from Asia to the West Coast. Or no, 12,000 to the West Coast and 15K to the East Coast. There's your inflationary pressures as well. Which is then, raw materials, raw goods, et cetera, and then the wait time to try and get those produced. So even if you do hire employees, how long are you waiting for the raw goods? How is your supply chain cycle moving where you're ramped up and producing and then you got to wait 3 weeks for more raw materials or product to come into, or parts to come in, right?
Exactly right. And a big pull forward at every single level, whether it's at the manufacturing level or the consumer level, of those goods that are so hard to get into the US because there's an anticipation that there's going to be a shortage. And so it's kind of almost like that hoarding mentality of we need to pull this forward now because those lead times are so high, those import prices are increasing, and those import prices can only be taken by that manufacturer or at the manufacturing level for so long. And as the economy opens back up, we're going to see those costs passed on to the consumer.
It's crazy. It's like a V12 turbo, twin turbo with a couple of fuel injectors that are clogged. It's like
You took the words right out of my mouth.
I could see it in your eyes. I could see it in your eyes, man. Sorry I stole your line. It was on the prompter, so I read it. Thank you so much, Anthony.
Of course.
We'll catch up again real soon.